The signal came at 3 in the morning, Earth Standard Time. It cut through the quiet hum of Space Command headquarters like a knife through silk. Lieutenant Megan Torres was the first to hear it. She sat up straight in her chair, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard as the transmission filled her headphones. It was a voice. Alien. Desperate. Afraid. This is Ambassador Velcora of the Zentari colony Velthus. We are under attack. Our defenses have fallen. Our people are dying. To any who hear this message, we beg for help. Please. Anyone. The message repeated. Over and over. Each time, the voice grew weaker, more broken. Megan's hands shook as she recorded the transmission and sent it up the chain of command. Within the hour, the message had reached Admiral Nathan Cole. Nathan stood in the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing star maps and fleet positions. He was a tall man in his 50s, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. He listened to the distress call 3 times before speaking. How far is Valthus? He asked. 18 hours at maximum warp, sir, replied Commander Derek Walsh, his tactical officer. Derek was younger, sharper, with a mind built for war. But Admiral, the Zentari are not our allies. They voted against our membership in the Galactic Assembly. 3 times. Nathan nodded slowly. He remembered. The Zentari had called humanity dangerous, primitive, too violent to be trusted among civilized species. They had looked down at Earth and its people like they were wild animals that needed to be kept in a cage. Who was attacking them? Nathan asked. The Varax, Derek said. Raiders, slavers. They hit colonies on the outer edges of the galaxy and take everyone they can capture. The ones they cannot sell, they kill. Nathan felt something cold settle in his stomach. He had read reports about the Varax. They were cruel in ways that made even hardened soldiers sick. They did not fight for territory or resources. They fought because they enjoyed the suffering of others. What is the Galactic Assembly doing about this? Nathan asked. Derek let out a bitter laugh. Nothing, sir. Valthus is outside protected space. The Assembly says it is not their responsibility. They have offered thoughts and prayers. Nathan closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about the voice in the transmission. Ambassador Velcora. A diplomat, not a soldier. Probably hiding in some basement while her world burned around her. Waiting for help that would never come. Except it would come. Because humanity was different. Contact the 3rd Fleet, Nathan said quietly. Tell them to prepare for immediate departure. Derek stared at him. Sir, we are talking about a full combat deployment. The politicians will want meetings, discussions, votes. Then they can discuss and vote while we are flying, Nathan replied. I will take responsibility. Those people do not have time for politics. The order went out within the hour. Across Earth's orbital stations, ships came alive. Engines fired. Weapon systems powered up. Crews ran to their stations with the practiced speed of people who trained for exactly this moment. At the center of the fleet was the USS Defiance. She was not the newest ship in the Navy, but she was the toughest. Her hull was scarred from a dozen battles, patched and repaired, and sent back into the fight each time. Captain Lisa Monroe stood on her bridge, watching her crew work. Lisa was a small woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She did not look like a warrior. She looked like someone's aunt or a schoolteacher. But everyone who served under her knew the truth. She was steel wrapped in silk. Calm in the middle of chaos. Steady when everything else was falling apart. All stations report ready, Captain, said her first officer. Lisa nodded. Good. Let us go save some lives. The fleet moved into formation. 15 warships. 3 carriers. Dozens of support vessels. It was not the largest force Earth had ever assembled, but it was fast, and it was deadly dot as they approached the warp corridor. Admiral Cole's voice came through the communication system. "This is Admiral Cole to all ships. You have all heard the distress call. You know where we are going and why. The Zentari did not ask for our help because they wanted it. They asked because they had no one else to call. The rest of the galaxy turned its back on them. But we are not the rest of the galaxy. We are human. And humans do not leave innocent people to die." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was harder. "The Virax think they can raid and kill and enslave without consequences. They think no one will stop them. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten the innocent while Earth is watching." The channel closed. For a moment, there was silence on every bridge in the fleet. Then, one by one, the ships jumped into hyperspace, back on the Defiance. Derek Walsh stood beside Captain Monroe, watching the stars stretch into lines as they entered the warp corridor. "Captain," he said quietly, "we will be outnumbered. The Virax have at least 40 ships in that system. We have 18. Lisa did not look away from the view screen. "I know. We could lose half the fleet. I know." Derek was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you think it is worth it? Dying for people who hate us?" Lisa finally turned to look at him. Her eyes were calm, but there was fire behind them. "Commander, those people did not ask to be attacked. They did not choose to have their homes burned and their children taken. They are scared and alone, and they are going to die unless someone helps them. I do not care if they hate us. I do not care if they never say thank you. When this is over, I want to look in the mirror and know that I did the right thing. That is worth dying for." Derek nodded slowly. He did not say anything else. There was nothing else to say. 18 hours later, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. And what they saw made every heart on every ship turn cold. Valithus was burning. The planet hung in the darkness of space like a wounded animal. Great columns of smoke rose from its surface, visible even from orbit. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were now nothing but fire and ash. The oceans reflected the orange glow of burning continents dotted around the planet. The Virax fleet circled like vultures. 43 warships, each one bristling with weapons. They moved slowly, lazily, taking their time. They had already won. Now they were just enjoying the kill. Captain Lisa Monroe stared at the destruction on her view screen. Her hands gripped the arms of her command chair so hard that her knuckles turned white. "Status report," she said, her voice flat and controlled. Commander Derek Walsh checked his displays. "I am reading 43 enemy vessels. Mixed classes. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, and what looks like slave transports. The Zentari defense fleet is gone. I am picking up wreckage, but no survivors. What about the surface? Scattered resistance. Most of the major cities have fallen. There are still some defensive positions holding out, but they will not last long." Derek paused. "Captain, I am also reading massive civilian casualties. The Virax are not just conquering. They are hunting." Lisa felt sick. She had seen war before. She had lost friends in battle and watched ships die in the cold of space. But this was different. This was not war. This was slaughter. "Get me Admiral Cole," she said. The Admiral's face appeared on screen moments later. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. "I see it, Captain," he said before she could speak. "The situation is worse than we expected. Sir, if we engage now, we can draw them away from the planet. Give the survivors time to regroup." "Agreed. All ships, battle formation Alpha. We hit them hard and fast. Make them forget about everything except us." The fleet spread out into attack position. 18 human ships against 43 Vorax raiders. The odds were terrible, but no one hesitated. No one turned back. On the Defiance, Lieutenant Megan Torres worked frantically at her communication station. She was trying to cut through the Vorax jamming signals and reach someone on the surface. "I have something," she said suddenly. "It is weak, but I'm getting a response." "Put it through," Lisa ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was the same one from the distress call. Ambassador Velcora. But now she sounded broken, hollow, like someone who had given up hope. "This is Velcora." "Who is this?" "Another ghost signal? Another echo of help that will never come?" Lisa leaned forward. "Ambassador, this is Captain Lisa Monroe of the Earth vessel Defiance. We received your distress call. We are here." There was silence. Long, painful silence. Then Velcora spoke again, and her voice cracked with disbelief. "You came? The humans came? But why? We rejected you. We called you savages. We turned you away from the assembly." "That does not matter right now," Lisa said firmly. "What matters is that we are here, and we are going to help. Where are your people? Where can we send rescue teams?" "The Central Shelter Complex. Under the capital city. There are thousands of civilians there. But the Vorax, they are breaking through the defenses. We have hours, maybe less. Hold on, Ambassador. We are coming." Lisa cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "You heard her. We have work to do." At that moment, the Vorax finally noticed the human fleet. Their ships stopped their lazy circling and turned toward the newcomers. A transmission came through on an open channel. The face that appeared was not human. The Vorax were reptilian, with scaled skin and eyes like yellow fire. Their leader, War Chief Draxel, had a face covered in ritual scars. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Well, well, what is this? The little humans have come to play." His voice was a low growl, full of amusement. "Do you know where you are, little creatures? This is our hunting ground. These people belong to us now." Admiral Cole's voice came through the fleet channel, calm and steady. "This is Admiral Nathan Cole of the Earth Defense Fleet. You will cease your attack on this colony immediately. Release your prisoners and withdraw, or we will destroy you." Draxel laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Destroy us? Look around you, human. You are outnumbered. You are outgunned. Your species is young and foolish. You do not know how the galaxy works. The strong take what they want. The weak die. That is the only law that matters." Lisa Monroe opened her own channel. Her voice was ice cold. "Let me tell you something about humans, Draxel. We do not care about your laws. We do not care about your numbers. When innocent people call for help, we answer. And when monsters hurt the defenseless, we put them down. You have one chance to leave. After that, we will teach you why the galaxy should fear Earth." Draxel's smile faded. For just a moment, something flickered in his yellow eyes. Not fear, not yet, but uncertainty. "Brave words," he said slowly. "Let us see if you can back them up." The transmission ended. The Vorax fleet began to move, spreading out into attack formation. "All ships weapons free," Admiral Cole ordered. "Show them what humanity is made of." The first missiles launched from the Defiance. They streaked across the void like shooting stars, followed by hundreds more from every ship in the fleet. The Vorax returned fire, and suddenly the space around Velphus became a storm of light and death. The Defiance shook as enemy fire struck her shields. Lisa gripped her chair and watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, each one covering the others, striking and retreating in patterns that confused the Vorax. They expected us to fight like everyone else, Derek said, his voice tight with concentration. Slow, careful, defensive. Then they have never fought humans before, Lisa replied. We wrote the book on war. A Varax cruiser exploded as concentrated fire from 3 human ships tore through its hull. Then another. The raiders were faster, more numerous, but the humans were relentless. They did not stop. They did not hesitate. They pushed forward like a knife driving into flesh. On the surface of Valithus, Ambassador Velcora climbed to a broken window and looked up at the sky. Through the smoke and fire, she could see flashes of light. Explosions. Battle. The humans were fighting. They had crossed the galaxy to fight for people who had treated them like animals. And they were winning. For the first time in days, Velcora felt something she had forgotten. Hope. The battle in orbit was chaos. Ships twisted and turned through the void, trading fire at distances that would have been impossible for older civilizations. Human vessels moved like dancers, sliding between enemy formations and striking from angles the Varax never expected. On the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Derek Walsh called out targets with machine-like precision. Enemy destroyer bearing 270. 3 cruisers forming up on our starboard side. Carrier launching fighters at 11 o'clock. Captain Lisa Monroe processed the information instantly. Helm, bring us around. Target that destroyer first. Fire all 4 batteries on my mark. The ship turned hard, throwing the crew against their restraints. The view screen filled with the image of a Varax destroyer, its weapons charging for another volley. Mark. The Defiance opened fire. Streams of plasma and kinetic rounds tore through space and slammed into the enemy ship. Its shields flickered, then failed. The next volley cut through the hull like paper. The destroyer broke apart in a ball of fire. Target destroyed, Derek reported. But Captain, we have a problem. The Varax are not retreating. They are getting angrier. Lisa nodded grimly. The raiders were not used to losing. Every ship they lost made them more furious, more reckless. They were throwing themselves at the human fleet with wild abandon, caring nothing for tactics or self-preservation. Let them come, she said. We have something they do not. Discipline. Elsewhere in the battle, Admiral Cole watched the tactical display on his flagship. The fight was going better than expected, but it was not enough. The Varax still had numbers on their side, and every minute that passed was another minute the civilians on the surface suffered. We need to speed this up, he muttered. He opened a channel to the fleet. All marine transports begin surface deployment. We cannot wait for space superiority. Those people need help now. Across the fleet, dropships launched from carrier base. They were small, fast, and heavily armored. Each one carried a squad of Earth Marines, the best soldiers humanity had ever produced. Sergeant Marcus Grant sat in the lead dropship, checking his rifle for the 100th time. He was a big man with dark skin and scars on his hands from a lifetime of fighting. Around him, his squad waited in tense silence. Listen up, Marcus said, his voice cutting through the engine noise. The Varax are groundside, hunting civilians. Our job is simple. Find the survivors. Protect them. Kill anything that gets in our way. What about extraction? One of his Marines asked. We hold until the fleet clears the skies. Could be hours. Could be days. Does not matter. We do not leave until every civilian is safe. The dropship shook as it entered the atmosphere. Through the small windows, Marcus could see the burning landscape below. Cities in ruins. Forests on fire. A world dying. Then the ground rushed up to meet them, and there was no more time for thinking. The dropship hit the ground hard. The ramp dropped, and Marcus led his squad out into hell. They were in what used to be a city plaza. Now it was rubble and ash. Bodies lay everywhere. Xanthari civilians who had not escaped in time. The air smelled like smoke and death. "Move," Marcus ordered. "The shelter complex is 3 blocks north." They ran through the streets, boots pounding on broken pavement. The sounds of battle echoed around them. Gunfire, explosions, screams. They found the first Varax patrol at an intersection. 6 raiders, dragging a group of Xanthari prisoners toward a transport. The aliens saw the humans and raised their weapons. They never got a shot off. Marcus and his squad opened fire with brutal efficiency. The Varax dropped in seconds, their bodies hitting the ground before they understood what was happening. The Xanthari prisoners stared in shock. "You are safe now," Marcus said, lowering his rifle. "Get to the shelter. Go." They ran. Marcus did not watch them leave. He was already moving, already hunting for the next target. The Marines pushed deeper into the city. They fought through ambush and traps. They cleared buildings room by room. Every time they found civilians, they sent them toward the shelter. Every time they found Varax, they put them down. At the shelter complex, Ambassador Velcora stood with High Counselor Thanarix, the leader of the colony. Thanarix was old, his scales faded with age, but his eyes were still sharp. He watched the human Marines arrive with a mixture of confusion and awe. "They fight like demons," he said quietly. "I have never seen anything like it." Velcora nodded. "They are not like us. They are not like anyone. When they see suffering, they do not calculate the cost. They just act." A young Xanthari child ran past them, crying. She had been separated from her parents in the chaos. Before anyone could react, Marcus Grant scooped her up in one arm, still holding his rifle in the other. Hey," he said softly, his voice completely different from the cold warrior who had been killing Varax moments before. "It is okay. You are okay. We are going to find your family." He carried her to the shelter entrance and handed her to a medical worker. Then he turned and went back to the fighting without a word. Thanarix stared after him. "He carried her," he whispered. In the middle of a battle, he stopped to carry a child. "That is what they do," Velcora said. "That is why they came." In orbit, the battle was reaching its peak. The Varax had lost a third of their fleet, but they were still fighting. The human ships were damaged, some badly, but none had fallen. On the Defiance, alarms blared as another hit shook the ship. "Hull breach on Deck 7, Derek reported. "Shields at 40%. We cannot take much more of this." Lisa gripped her chair as the ship rocked again. Through the view screen, she saw a Varax cruiser breaking off from the main battle. It was heading toward the planet, toward the civilian transports trying to evacuate survivors. "No," she said. "That one is mine. Helm, intercept course. All power to forward weapons. Captain, if we break formation..." "I know." "Do it." The Defiance surged forward, putting itself between the Varax cruiser and the fleeing transports. The enemy ship opened fire. The Defiance took the hits, her shield screaming, her hull groaning, but she did not move. She held the line. "Fire everything," Lisa ordered. The Defiance unleashed her full arsenal. The Varax cruiser's shields collapsed. Its engines exploded. It tumbled away. Dead in space, Lisa allowed herself one small breath of relief. Then the next enemy ship appeared, and the fight continued. War Chief Draxel stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his fleet die. His yellow eyes burned with fury as another one of his ships exploded on the view screen. Then another. Then another. This was not supposed to happen. The Varax had crushed 100 worlds. They had broken species that had been starfaring for millennia. They were the terror of the Outer Rim, the nightmare that made colonies surrender before a single shot was fired. And now they were losing to humans. Young, foolish, primitive humans who had barely learned to walk among the stars. How? Draxel growled. How are they doing this? His second in command, a scarred veteran named Crix, checked the tactical displays. They fight differently, War Chief. They do not behave like other species. They do not retreat when damaged. They do not hesitate when outnumbered. They just keep attacking. They are insane. Perhaps. But they are winning. Draxel slammed his fist against the arm of his throne. The metal dented under the impact. He had ruled through fear for his entire life. He had made entire civilizations kneel before him. He would not be humiliated by these newcomers. All ships, he broadcast to his fleet. Focus fire on their flagship. Kill their admiral. Break their spirit. The remaining Varax vessels turned toward Admiral Cole's command ship. They converged like a pack of wolves, pouring fire into the human flagship from every angle. But they had forgotten about the rest of the fleet. Now, Admiral Cole ordered calmly, "Execute pincer maneuver." The human ships that had been scattered across the battlefield suddenly moved with perfect coordination. They swept in from both sides, catching the Varax in a deadly crossfire. Ships that had been focused on the flagship found themselves attacked from behind. The formation collapsed into chaos. Commander Derek Walsh watched from the Defiance as the trap closed. "They fell for it," he said, amazement in his voice. "They actually fell for it." Captain Lisa Monroe allowed herself a grim smile. "Humans have been fighting wars for 10,000 years, Commander. We have learned a few tricks." In the chaos, Draxel's flagship was cut off from the rest of the fleet. Human ships surrounded it, pounding its shields with relentless fire. The massive vessel shuddered as explosions ripped through its hull. Admiral Cole opened a channel. "Draxel, your fleet is broken. Your ships are dying. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated fairly." The war chief's face appeared on screen. He was bleeding from a wound on his head. His scales cracked and blackened from fire. But his eyes still burned with hatred. "Surrender?" He spat the word like poison. "You think I fear death, human? You think I will kneel to creatures like you? I think you have no choice." Draxel laughed, a harsh and broken sound. "There is always a choice." He leaned forward, his yellow eyes fixed on the Admiral. "Tell me something, human. Why? Why did you come here? These Anthari are nothing to you. They rejected you. They insulted you. They would have watched your species die without lifting a finger. Why sacrifice your ships and your people for them?" Admiral Cole was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm and certain. "Because it was the right thing to do. Because when innocent people suffer, someone has to help them. Not for reward. Not for glory. Just because that is what good people do. You would never understand that, Draxel. You see the universe as predators and prey. But we see something else. We see family. We see neighbors. We see people worth protecting." Draxel stared at him. For just a moment, something flickered across his face. Not understanding. He was too far gone for that. But perhaps a shadow of recognition that he was facing something he had never encountered before. Then the moment passed, and the hatred returned. "Then die with your principles, human." He cut the transmission. On his crippled flagship, he gave one final order. "All power to engines. Ram the planet. If I cannot have this world, no one will." The flagship lurched forward, trailing fire and debris. Its remaining engines screamed as it accelerated toward Valthus. It would hit the planet like a meteor, killing millions of the civilians the humans had fought so hard to save. "He's going to ram the surface," Derek shouted. "We have to stop him." Lisa did not hesitate. "Helm, intercept course. All weapons, target his engines." "Captain, at that range, when he explodes, I know." Do it. The Defiance surged forward, putting herself directly in the path of the falling flagship. Other human ships joined her, pouring fire into the Varax vessel. But it kept coming, kept falling. It is not enough, Derek said. He is too close. Lisa stood up from her chair. Then we get closer. Hell, collision course. Put us right in front of him. Point blank range. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what she was asking. At point blank range, when the flagship exploded, the Defiance would be caught in the blast. Captain, Derek started. Those are my orders, Commander. The Defiance dove toward the falling ship. The distance closed. 1,000 kilometers. 500. 100. Fire everything, Lisa ordered. The Defiance unleashed every weapon she had. At point-blank range, nothing could survive that barrage. The Varax flagship came apart in a massive explosion that lit up the sky. The shockwave hit the Defiance like a hammer. The ship spun out of control, hull breaching in a dozen places. On the bridge, consoles exploded. Crew members were thrown from their stations. Lisa felt herself flying through the air. Then impact. Then darkness. When she opened her eyes, Derek was pulling her from the wreckage. His face was covered in blood, but he was smiling. We did it, Captain, he said. The flagship is destroyed. The remaining Varax ships are surrendering. Lisa looked around at her ruined bridge, her wounded crew, her broken ship. Casualties? She managed to ask. We lost some good people, but the planet is safe. The civilians are safe. Lisa closed her eyes and let out a long breath. It had cost them so much, but they had done it. They had saved them. Above Velphus, the last Varax ships powered down their weapons and raised flags of surrender. The battle was over. Humanity had won. 1 week after the battle, the skies above Velphus were filled with human ships. But these were not warships. They were medical vessels, supply transports, and engineering craft. They had come to help rebuild what the Varax had destroyed. On the surface, the work of recovery had begun. Human doctors treated wounded Xanthari in field hospitals. Human engineers cleared rubble and restored power to damaged cities. Human soldiers, the same ones who had fought like demons days before, now carried food and water to refugee camps. Ambassador Valcora walked through one of these camps, watching the humans work. She still could not fully understand what she was seeing. These people owed the Xanthari nothing, less than nothing, and yet here they were, giving everything they had. She found Admiral Nathan Cole standing near a medical tent, speaking with one of his officers. He looked tired. Deep lines marked his face, and his uniform was wrinkled from days without sleep. But his eyes were calm. Admiral, Valcora said, approaching him. May I speak with you? Nathan turned and nodded. Ambassador, it is good to see you alive. Thanks to you. She paused, struggling to find the right words. Admiral, I need to say something. Something that should have been said long ago. You do not need to. Yes, I do. Valcora took a deep breath. We were wrong about your people. The Xanthari looked at humanity and saw only violence. We saw your wars, your weapons, your aggression, and we were afraid. We thought you were dangerous. We thought you would bring chaos to the galaxy. Nathan listened quietly, his expression unreadable. But we did not see what that violence was for, Valcora continued. We did not see that you fight to protect, that you rage against injustice, that you throw yourselves into fire to save people you have never met. We were so busy being afraid of your strength that we never asked what you used that strength for. She bowed her head, a gesture of deep respect in Xanthari culture. I am sorry, Admiral. Admiral, on behalf of my people, I am truly sorry. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached out and gently lifted her chin so she was looking at him. Ambassador, we did not come here for an apology. We did not come here to prove anything or to change your mind about us. We came because people were dying and we could help. That is all. But after how we treated you, that does not matter. Nathan's voice was firm but kind. We do not keep score. We do not help people based on whether they like us or agree with us. We help because helping is right. Because that is who we choose to be. Valkara stared at him, tears forming in her large eyes. How? How can you be so forgiving? Nathan smiled, just slightly. We are not forgiving anything, Ambassador. There is nothing to forgive. You made a judgment based on incomplete information. Now you have more information. What you do with it is up to you. He turned back to his work, leaving Valkora standing alone with her thoughts. Later that day, a formal gathering was held in what remained of the colony's central government building. High Counselor Thanarix had called together the surviving leaders of Valthus to address the human fleet commanders. Thanarix stood at a podium, looking out at the assembled crowd. Humans and Zentari sat together, something that would have been unthinkable a week ago. Today I stand before you humbled, Thanarix began. Our colony was dying. Our people were being taken and killed. We called for help, and the galaxy ignored us. All except one species. The one species we had rejected. The one species we had called too dangerous to trust. He paused, his old eyes moving to where Admiral Cole and Captain Monroe sat. The humans did not ask what we had done for them. They did not ask what we could offer in return. They simply came. They fought. They bled. They died. For us, Captain Lisa Monroe sat with her arm in a sling, still recovering from her injuries. Beside her, Commander Derek Walsh and Lieutenant Megan Torres listened in respectful silence. I have been contacted by the Galactic Assembly, Thanarix continued. They have seen what happened here. They have watched the recordings of the battle, and they are reconsidering humanity's application for membership. A murmur ran through the crowd. Thanarix raised his hand for silence. But I am told that Admiral Cole has declined any political reward. He says humanity does not need approval to do what is right. The old counselor shook his head slowly. I have lived for many centuries. I have met countless species. I have never met anyone like these humans. He turned directly to face the Admiral. We cannot repay what you have done. There is no currency for this kind of debt. But we can remember. And we can tell others. And we can make sure that no one in this galaxy ever forgets what humanity did for Volthus. Admiral Cole stood and walked to the podium. The room fell silent. High Counselor, we did not come here for recognition. We did not come here to be remembered. But if you want to honor the humans who died in this battle, there is one thing you can do. Name it. Be better. Build a galaxy where species help each other. Where the strong protect the weak instead of preying on them. Where no one ever has to send a desperate signal into the void and pray that someone answers. Nathan looked out at the crowd. That is what we fight for. That is the galaxy we want to live in. Help us build it. Thanarix bowed his head. We will. I swear it. Outside the building, Sergeant Marcus Grant stood with his Marines, watching the ceremony through the windows. He had not wanted to attend. He was a soldier, not a politician. And besides, there were still people who needed help. A small figure appeared at his side. The Zentari child he had carried during the battle. She looked up at him with huge eyes and pressed something into his hand. It was a small carved stone, shaped like a flower. A traditional Zentari gift of gratitude. Thank you, she said in broken English. Thank you for saving us. Marcus looked down at the stone. Then he knelt so he was at her eye level. You are welcome, little one. You stay safe, okay? And when you grow up, You help people who need it. Just like we helped you. She nodded solemnly, as if he had given her a sacred mission. Then she ran back to her family, who bowed deeply to the human soldiers before disappearing into the crowd. Marcus watched them go. Then he turned to his squad. Come on. There is still work to do. 3 days later, the fleet received a new transmission. Another distress call, from another world, from another species being terrorized by raiders. Admiral Cole stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the star map. The fleet was still damaged. His people were still tired. They had given everything they had, but there were people in trouble. People who needed help. He opened a channel to the fleet. This is Admiral Cole. We have a new mission. Plot course and prepare to jump. The fleet turned toward the stars. Wounded but unbroken. Tired but willing, because that was humanity. That was what they did. When darkness fell and hope faded, they answered the call. Every time. Without fail. And across the galaxy, the word spread. When you are lost. When you are afraid. When no one else will come. Call for the humans. They will answer.